Friends, welcome back to the channel DevOps Consultancy and Solution. So far we have learned how Packer works. First, Packer launch an instance with the source base AMI. Then Packer connects with the instance and install all the scripts and the packages. Then Packer stop the instance and take its snapshot. Once snapshot is taken, Packer create an AMI from it that we call golden image or the golden AMI. At last, Packer will terminate the instance that it created. This is basically the whole life cycle of the Packer build process. We have learned how to install the Packer. We we learned how to create an IAM user and its secret and access keys in AWS. We learned and create the golden AMI in AWS for Ubuntu. Today we will learn about how to create the golden image for Windows on AWS. Let's get started. So all the scripts are available in the GitHub repository. So this is the GitHub repository, which I will mention in the description. Feel free to go and check it out. So today in this process, I will go with the same approach. First, I will show you how to create an image from the base source image without any provisioner installation. Next step, I will add the provisioner in the build script and show you how the provisioner work. I will install or add the Apache provisioner as an example. So in the last, I will show you how to create and variables, how to add the variables in the build script and how to use them. So let's go to the Visual Studio. So in the Visual Studio, so this is the first script, which is the aws-windows.packer.scl. So it has, again, as I said earlier, it has the three blocks like the Packer block, which is the required plugins. So we are using the Amazon plugin for the AWS. Its version is greater than or equal to 1.2.8 and the source is equal to github.com/hashicorp/amazon. So next is the source block. Source block contains the AMI details. So we are using the Windows AMI. So I'm using the Windows Server 2019 and all its details are mentioned here. So I will show you how to get the AMI detail for the Windows. So if I go to the AWS console, so for the AWS console in the AMI, I'm using the Microsoft Windows Server 2019. I just copy this AMI ID. I will go to the AMI, go to the public images and search for this AMI. So I get all the details for this. I click on the AMI. So this is the AMI name that I'm using in the script. This is the AMI owner and the root device type is EBS and the virtualization type is HVM. So all details I have mentioned here. So the Windows base image does not connect automatically to the ingress traffic, which Packer require in order to connect to the instance. To work around this, the configuration specifies as a user data scripts that will run on the build instance and launch and allow the connection over WinRM. So all those details I have mentioned in the bootstrap win.txt file. So, and this is just, it will run as the user data script when the base image will launch. So as the Packer first, it will launch the instance. So while launching the instance, it I will provide the user data file as a bootstrap win. So it will run as a user data. In order to connect the WinRM, so it required the credentials. So user will be administrator and password. I just hard coded it, but yes, you can just you can provide into the variable file and you can make it as a sensitive. So that I will show you in later part. And in the next block is the build block. So build block is, again, it will call the source, which is basically what we require to build. So we are building the source amazon-abs.windows. Let's execute this build script. So first step is I need to initialize the Packer. So Packer init AWS Windows dot packer.scl. So initialization is done. So next command is packer validate AWS Windows dot packer.scl. Validation is done. So third command is packer build AWS packer Windows packer.scl. So now the build packer build has been started. So it find the image ID and launch the instance. It will take longer time, and now I will pause the video and get back once it is done. So guys, now the AMI has been created. So as I said earlier, so in this script there is no provisioner mention. So there this AMI is equivalent to the AMI which is provided by the AWS. So I will show you the AMI which is created here. So if I go to the AMI section owned by me, so I will just remove this one. I select here owned by me, and then it will show me the image which has been created. The image ID is, if you see, the last number is 3938. If I go to the console, so it is saying the image ID created is 3938. This is the image which has been created. So next step is to add the provisioner in the build script. So this is the file which I have created, aws-windows-apache 24.packer.scl. So in the build section, the file is same exactly like the previous one. It has the packer block, then the source block, which is the same source image ID details, and the in the build section, so it is I'm telling which source need to be built first, and then the uh, provisioner. So in the provisioner, I just added the comments here. This is the inline. So while executing the build or while executing this script, so these comments or the command line, these details will publish here in the logs. And next is the PowerShell script I mentioned here, the to install the Apache. This is a script apache.ps1, and in the third provisioner, it I'm just starting the Apache. So once I will launch the instance on the AWS, that Windows has the Apache installed and running. So I will show you that in the testing part. So this is the Apache script which I mentioned, which I provided here. So before installing the Apache, it required to install the Chocolatey if it is not installed. So in the line 4, 5, and the 6, I'm installing the Chocolatey, and then in the line number 9, I'm using the choco install command to install the Apache. And to verify it, I'm verifying here whether it has been installed or not. So let's run this. So in order to run this, the process is same, is to initialize the packer file. So command will be packer init file name. So in this case, the file name is aws-windows-apache 24.packer.scl. So initialization is done properly. So next command is to validate, packer validate. So validation is done. So next command is packer build file name. So now the build process is started. It has found the AMI and start launching the instance. It will take longer time. So now I will pause the video and come back once it is finished. So now, if you can see the logs, so it has completed the or execute the first provisioner. So in the first provisioner, I was just doing the console output, printing the inline command, giving the inline command to print the output. So this is the output it has printed. Hello DevOps engineer, welcome to DevOps Consultancy and Solution. You are learning how to use the Packer and to create the golden image. So now the first provisioner, which is just to print the inline command, that is done. So next step, it is executing the installation of the Apache. So in the installation of Apache, it is first installing the chocolatey, and once it will be done, then it will use the choco commands to install the Apache. Yes, guys. Now the AMI has been created. So somehow it took more than usual time. Maybe some background process was running. So if you can see here, the AMI which has been created, its name is EE72 in the last. So we will verify the EMI in the AWS console and launch the AMI to check whether the Apache is installed on it or not. So let's go to the AWS console. So here I'm on the AWS console, click on the AMI and I will refresh it. I have to select owned by me. So now the AMI which has been created is 8EE72, which is just created now. We can verify the date here, today's date. So if I select the AMI and click on launch instance, so you can give any name. So I just select the name packer underscore build underscore verify underscore name. So this is the image name which we created just now. So instance, I will select T2 small, key value pair. I will use the windows which I created earlier, security group. I will just select the HTTP along with the RDP and click on the launch instance. So now the instance has been created. So I will just click on the instance. So here we can see the AMI ID. It is using the same AMI ID which we created recently, 8EE72, and its AMI name is build your own Windows image. So I will connect it, go to the RDP client, download the remote desktop. In the Windows, I will use the Windows app. So Windows app is opened. So I will just click on the RDP. I will enter the password, continue, and it will launch. So now you can see the Windows is doing some personalization settings. So within few seconds, Windows will be available to test the Apache. Now I will open the browser here to test if the Apache is up and running. I will use the command http/localhost port 8080. Yes. So now the Apache is up and running. So far in this example, we have tested that we provision the Windows AMI with the Apache provisioner installed on it, and Apache is up and running. So in the next example, we will see how to use the variables in the Packer file. So let's go back to the AWS Visual Studio. So I have created a file, AWS Windows Apache 24 variable. So I will just show you what changes I have done. So this is the same file which I used in the previous example, same kind of. So in the first block, it is a Packer block which is used for the required plugins. So I'm using the Amazon plugin. So next is the to declare the variables. So I will come to this part within a few seconds. Before that, this is the source block. It is the same source block which we used in the previous example. So it has the Windows Server 2019 details. and below is the build block. So in the build block, first step it is we are telling packer file to what source need to be built, and then the provisioner. So first is provisioner is PowerShell to print the command line variables. Next is the PowerShell to install the Apache, and third PowerShell provisioner is to start the Apache. So now come back to the variable section. So there are two types of variables in the packer. So one is the input variable and second is the local variable. So input variable means the variables which we define into the packer file, but we can pass those values for those variables by the command line or by using the variable file. So in the first example, I have used the variable region. So I have defined the type string, but I didn't pass any default value. So for this, it means I need to either pass the variable input value either by the command line or by using the variable file. So I have created a one variable file here, which is it is that variable file extension should be pkr vars.scl. So in this variable file, I give the region value EU-west-1, right? So in the second, I have defined the variable communicator. So I didn't define any type of a string, any type, whether it's a string or number. I didn't define any default value. So again, so this is a variable which I declared into the packer file, but to pass the define its value. So what value it need to be used? So either I need to provide into the packer variable file or as an input. So in if I go to the packer variable file, again, I had declared the value here, the communicator equals to winRm. So third variable I'm using as the instance type. So for this instance type, I declared it as a type equal to string and it set its default value t2.small. So what does it mean? That if I'm not passing this variable value either in a packer variable file, which in this I didn't define any value for this, or if I'm not passing any input value for this while executing, then the default value for the instance type will be picked up. This is the also a example, and it's really helpful when if we are running the packer build command and we forget to, or if we don't know what value need to be passed, so as the input variable, then the packer file will pick the default value and build and complete the packer image. So next is the local variable. So local variable means that we define into the packer build file and its scope is only up to this build file, and we can't pass this local variable by the input value. So it automatically pick its value and we can use into the in build file for the further use. So like I defined the timestamp in this local, so which I'm using as the name in the name of the AMI file. So in the name, I just add the after the image word, I just add the local variable output, which is the dollar curly braces local dot timestamp. So before below that, I'm using a communicator variable. So communicator variable need to define as the dollar sign curly braces var dot communicator. Similarly for the instance type and the region. So these are the changes which I made in the build file as in the source block. Rest below everything is same as per the previous example. So now we will test this example and we will see how it is working. So I will clear the screen. So first command is to again initialize the file. So packer init. So I just give the file name AWS-Windows-Apache variables files.packer.html. So initialization is done. Next one is validate, packer validate. So this command will fail. I will let you know why. So it is saying that the a used variable must be set or default value. So the variables which we have defined here, the region and the communicator, if we didn't define it or we didn't pass the variable value. So either one way is we can pass these input variables as a command line or by the variable file. So first I will show you how to pass at a variable file, and then I will show you how to pass them as a variable input file. Sorry, input command. So command will be packer validate hyphen var hyphen file. So we will give the file name, which is AWS hyphen Windows variables. So this is the variable file in which the all the variables has been declared. And next is the file name which we need to validate. So now the validation will done properly. It has been validated. Okay, so next is to run the build. So packer build. So here there will be two options. One is I can use the same. I can run this file as the I can pass the variable as the variable file, this one, and then the file name, which is which packer file name. So it will pick all the values from the variable file and build the EMI. Or the second option is I can use the variable attribute. So variable packer build hyphen var, then pass the variables as the input value to this build file. So I can give the region equal to EU hyphen west hyphen 2, or second variable var communicator equals winrm, and then the file name. So in this example, what it will do, it will override all the variables which are defined as a default or passed into the variable file. So it will override those variables and build the AMI on the EU-West2 region. So this is these are the two ways we can pass the variable, either by the input or by the variable file. So in order to run the packer build, I will use the same example as the variable file. I will use this in order to run this packer build command. So I will use the same variable file option. So I will pass those variables in this as the variable file and give the file name. So now the build process will started. So it will take little bit longer time. So I will pause the video and come back once it is done. The AMI has been created. So now it's time to verify it. So this is the AMI number 559A9 which has been created. So I will go to the console, AWS console, in the EC2 section, AMI, and the select owned by me and refresh it. So this is the AMI which it has been created just now. So I will select this AMI and launch the instance to verify whether the Apache is installed on it or not. So here you can give the build name. So I have just given the build name packer build variable file. So you can give any name. So this is the image which we created with the timestamp, and this is the AMI ID 559A9. So I will select the instance here, instance type by using the T2 small. Key value pair will be Windows, create the security group, RDP and the HTTP, and click on launch instance. The instance has been launched. So this is a instance ID. So I'll just click on it. Now next step is to connect to the instance and to see whether the Apache is installed or not. So I just click on the connect in the RDP client. I will download the remote desktop file. So username will be administrator, and I will enter the password here. Continue. I launch the Internet Explorer and check HTTP localhost. Yes, now you can see Apache is up and running. So far we have learned how to create our simple Windows AMI. Then we add the provisioner and create the custom AMI with Apache installed on it. Later in the final example, we learned how to use the variables in the Packer build file. Hope this session is useful for you. In next session, I will show you how to create the custom image on Azure. Stay tuned and please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. God bless you all.